Move the microphone into the right place. Let me sit up a little bit. Oh. Yeah. Hello. How you guys doing? How's things? Hello John, hello Simon S63, hello Bree, hello Ish. How are you guys doing? How's things? How's life? How's the universe? How has your week been? What has everybody been up to this week? As always, I've been busy. Mostly making videos. Have I managed to get shit on these already? Impressive. Hello. How's things? Hello John. Evening Doctor. Good old pie and chips, nice. Hello Simon. How you doing? How's things? So how should we been? Okay. Yeah, it's been fine. Been fine. I actually just finished a video that I spent a decent amount of time working on today, and that'll be up on Monday. Including I spent like half the day making an animation for it to help explain explain what it is the shit I'm talking about. So yeah. Status report. Any bits recently start working? No, it's the usual affair. Yeah. It's just the eyes and the back and the stomach and all of the joints. And then the brain in like 4 different ways. Just those things that don't work. Yeah. Fine and not bad, the highest praise you can get from Brits. Glad to hear it. I am a bit more expressive than your average Brit. I'm also a lot more open about how utterly broken I am, so clearly I'm more expressive than the average Brit. One thing I have been working on this week is I mentioned last week that I was doing these this like demo board for the color sensor, the like color testing tool, and that I couldn't get that to work, so I bought this board instead, which is exactly like it's the sensor I'm looking to use. It's got the sensor, it's pre-soldered, comes with headers, and then I'm just using it off of my breadboard that I've been doing development on for like 3 years at this point. You can see the remnants of the latency tool and the op amp from OSRTT Pro and one of the photodiodes. It's just yeah. But yeah, this board actually works, and so I have written my own library for this because no one else writes a good library for this this sensor. There's a lot of stuff for the AS7262 and the 7263, but no one has used the 7261, which is weird because that's also in my respect the one that's currently like still in production and available, and it actually provides the XYZ color coordinate system, which is what you use for testing displays. Like RGB is fine, but it kind of has a well, they all have a finite limit and whatnot, but especially if you're using RGB as integers, so you have 256 colors total, it's not as good, whereas XYZ is a lot wider of a you know, a lot more steps in between. So yeah, it returns an XYZ color value. In theory, it also returns lux, which is a brightness measurement. Although the brightness measurements that I've been getting while testing it aren't right. They're just not. And they said that my OLED, which is running it at most 250 nits, but really it's about 150, was 6,000 nits. That's not right. So yeah. I mean, are you British? Depends on which Scot you ask. Actually, it depends on the level of success and which English you ask. The gag that Andy Murray is a Scottish tennis player when he's not winning, and he's a British tennis player when he is. Same thing. Oh yeah, new graphics cards. Right. I don't know if anyone saw the 4080 Super um, reviews, but it's laughable, especially because the core count is actually higher. I really don't know what's going on there. Um, yeah. Did the 4080 2x2 Super get out? I think so. I'm pretty sure. I saw a screenshot on Reddit from Hardware Unboxed's review. Um, 48 super cards are listed. Yeah, yeah. There's plenty of reviews up. Yeah, it's not basically any faster than the 4080. um, my old 4080 beats the new 4080 Super. Quality, quality work. Is that one that's -3 to +3? Pretty much, yeah, yeah, yeah. I think what was it? Hardware Unboxed had a 12 game average, and it was like 1 or 2% faster. So yes. Um, Exciting. I know, right? Actually, the RX 7600 XT with 16 gigs of VRAM looks a bit more exciting. Primarily because of that 16 gigs of VRAM, really. Which it was the whole like point of the presentation from AMD. So yeah, yes, that one worked. There's also the new APUs, which Gamers Nexus did a video on earlier this week, and they found basically that in the BIOS for these new APUs, because these new APUs are very similar to the core, like the Ryzen Z1 Extreme that you'd find in like the RG Ally. The RG Ally and Z1 Extreme, I guess, BIOSes have this feature baked in, which is like skin temperature awareness. Where basically they don't want to heat up the like exterior of your like handheld console, but these are desktop chips, so that doesn't you don't need that. So AMD is going to in the next Agiza patch or the next BIOS, it will have a fix for that, which is kind of cool to see reviewers and journalists really push for better stuff. Hello, Joe. Hey, man. How's things? I mean, 4070 and everything over just angers me. If it costs more than the average monthly income, it's too much. Yeah, fair. Um, I do kind of agree with you. Obviously, the average monthly income does vary, and also it depends on what the actual value proposition is. Because like your motorbike costs more than the the average monthly yeah, monthly wage. But the value proposition there is obviously very different to a graphics card. If you're purely doing it like using it for gaming, yeah, I agree that like the 60 class, 70 class are fine. Obviously you do get more performance from the higher end stuff. 80 class, 90 class. But it depends what you're using with it and what the value proposition is to you. Yeah, but I expect the bike to last over 20 years, GPU not so much. Yeah, yeah. Though my 2070 is in its 6th year, I assume that is. Yeah, I mean, GPUs themselves tend to last a fair while. It's like when I first started like building my PC and whatnot, um, I had my hands on what were at the time at least 10-year-old cards that I'd slap in as like just for extra display outputs because I cards at the time had like 2 or 3 display outputs. So yeah. Uh, Unfortunately, one of those cards I gave away essentially, and one of them I still have, but it's very much dead. And I don't know why. I haven't tried to resurrect it. It's a Radeon HD 3850 or something like that. Single slot, very red. It's ATI actually. Geez, you get two 4090s and still have change for the Australian average monthly income. That's what I mean about it being different depending where you are. Because in the UK, I think the average monthly income is, I guess, about £2,000, give or take. So yeah, you can get like at least one 4090, if not verging on two. I'm still using my 1070. It's done me well for a long time. I mean, I'm using a 1080 Ti in my like underdesk PC that I do a lot of the like testing and stuff upstairs. Or if I'm like just playing a game, there's a good chance that I'm playing it on that 1080 Ti and the i7 770 or 7700. Sorry. So yeah. I am planning on refreshing that though, because the 1080 Ti doesn't support display stream compression over DisplayPort, which means that I have to bring the PC that's normally there upstairs to be able to test anything over 1440p 165 Hz. So like the monitor that I just had in that you'll see tomorrow is a 1440p 180 Hz ultra wide. The 1080 Ti will not run that at full speed, or actually it might. But the next one that I have is a super ultra wide OLED. Definitely won't run that at full speed. So I need the system with a newer GPU basically. So I'm kind of thinking about rebuilding that underdesk PC, possibly doing it a bit better because it is just like screwed to the underside of the desk. Yeah, I'll think about it. Could the SLI back then too? A lot of cards could, and Crossfire as well. Although it mostly still didn't work anyway. Oh, Zach, can anyone recommend me buying the Samsung 55-inch OLED TV? I want to buy one for playing on a PS5. So I can't say for sure because I have not tested any Samsung displays. But I can say, or give you some advice on what to look for. So OLEDs are already a great choice for gaming because of the instant response times. Makes it very crispy and very nice. In fact, I'm currently looking at an OLED here. If it's Samsung, that probably means that it's a QD or quantum dot OLED. Make sure that it is, because in my experience, again, I'm looking at a QD OLED Samsung panel. They feel to me like the sort of next generation, class of panel. So that would be my recommendation. Make sure that it is QD OLED. And then, I guess the third point, make sure that the TV does support HDMI 2.1 and ideally things like HDMI 2.1 ALLM, auto low latency mode, and VRR, which is variable refresh rate. If it supports those features, then it probably also supports playing at 4K and possibly higher refresh rate, depending on what the TV is rated for. And the other thing is also to check out what the actual latency is like, if it has a game mode or anything like that. Those would be my recommendations for things to look out for. To be fair, they last. There are GTX 560s that work fine on the second-hand market. How much sense they make is another thing altogether. I mean, compared to APUs. That's the wild thing, is that the new APUs and obviously the newest generation of APUs, especially from AMD, as a longer lasting statement than this current gen, always really impressed me in terms of what they can do compared to discrete, possibly even high-end graphics cards from like 5 generations ago, even a couple of generations ago. I think what AMD were comparing the APU to like 1060 level of performance. Like, how many people have a 1060 that could replace that entire card with a new CPU? That's wild. Hello, Richard, and hello, Harry. Richard, what's the most reliable AIO? Good question. So the thing about AIOs is that they're all actually manufactured by 2 companies, give or take. It's Coolit and Asetek, as the generalization, because those are the 2 companies that hold the patents for AIO designs. So really what you're asking is, which company has the best warranty? And things like quality control. Personally, I've had a fantastic experience with Arctic. Their Arctic Freezer liquid freezer line. I use the Liquid Freezer 2 quite a lot. I really liked the Fractal Design S22 or whatever it was called, S24 something. Again, they were all they're all either Coolit or Asetek, so big asterisk there. But again, that's my preference. Although, to be honest, I've had a Corsair. In fact, I have Corsair AIOs in both my PC and my Overkill NAS, and neither of them have had anywhere near to anything of an issue. Touch wood. So yeah. I use Asus's AOs as they have a 6-year warranty in Australia. Been using them for about 6 to 7 years and still going strong. Fair. I'm using the EK Nucleus for my PC at the moment. It's very good. Nice. Doesn't next gen mean beta testing? In this case, no. It means better than the rest. Although I know what you mean. Wouldn't they scale quality in QA depending on what the vendor, which vendor batch they're being made for? Like Cooler Master might demand and pay for cheaper materials, lower QA / more defects, but another one pays for better materials and higher QA. So that sounds like the sort of thing that I wouldn't want to say out loud for the sake of unsubstantiated claims against large companies. But in a hypothetical situation, it wouldn't surprise me if that was the case. Generally speaking, especially if it is a production line process, it's kind of unlikely that the someone like Coolit or Asetek would actually have straight up, this company gets the trash tier stuff and this company gets the god tier stuff. there are normally allowable tolerances throughout every stage of manufacturing. If you've watched the Gamers Nexus video on fan bearings being made, you know that even the bearings in the fans have acceptable tolerances in terms of their thickness and width and friction and, you know, everything under the sun. And so you can apply that to every other part in the chain. And so uh, there is an chance that there is a noticeable quality difference between various brands from the same manufacturer. Uh, but as a sweeping generalization, they're all fairly similar. And so, again, it's mostly looking at who offers the best warranty. Because generally speaking, if you offer, as Simon mentioned, ASUS offer a 6-year warranty in Australia, you don't offer a long-term warranty like that if you don't believe that your product is going to last that long. So, yeah. Would you recommend a 32, 55, or 27 inch for gaming 4K QD OLED? I'm so excited, it's going to be my first OLED, by the way. So that's quite the range of sizes. It depends on a lot on what you want to, how you want to have it set up. If you want to have it set up on a desk where you're like sitting, in your gaming chair, at your desk playing, then personally, I think 32 is probably on the biggest I would be happy to go with for having it on a desk, like within touching distance. If you're more willing to have it set up more like a TV in your living room and it's the other side of the room for a much more conventional console gaming experience, then something like 55 or 55 inches is going to be a much better fit. As another generalization, monitors, like things that are labeled as monitors, so generally like 32 or 27 inch, those are likely going to be better gaming experiences for you, purely because they are more likely to be tailored for gaming explicitly as their primary function. And so things like you won't have basically any input lag with a gaming monitor versus with a TV that is primarily meant for watching movies and TV shows, but you can switch it into the gaming mode. But especially the more modern TVs that do have good gaming modes and have HDMI 2.1, which is a key feature regardless of if you go monitor or TV, by the way, for gaming on console. That is... I was going like a lot more up to you, I think is what I was trying to say. It depends on your use case. Like I said, if you're playing, you want that more competitive experience and have it on a desk, then yeah, go for a monitor. If you want it as a more comfortable gaming experience, lounging on the sofa, then go for a TV. But yeah. I have a 32 inch, and in my honest opinion, it's definitely the max size for a desktop. Any bigger, and you need to turn your head sometimes. I would agree. Yeah. I think so. I have an ultra wide. I have the Philips Evnia 8600 QD OLED as my primary display, and then a 27 inch 1440p on top. And I think that the width of this is about the same as a 42-inch TV or 42-inch panel if it was 16:9, because it's 34-inch now. So you add that extra height back, and I think it gets you to about 42 inches. And that is a lot of screen real estate. Like, I already kind of have to look around, which isn't too much of a problem for me, especially because I have another display, so no big deal. But yeah, for a single display, 32 is comfortable. Still. suppose it also depends on how far you sit from it, because if you're like, right up in it, it's a lot different than if you're back here. I can't read anything from back here, so. I definitely see your point. Makes sense. What about games like Spider-Man 2 and God of War on PS5 compared to games like Overwatch and COD? What size would you recommend for those games? So you've kind of labeled the two different sort of classes of game there, really, quite nicely. So, Spider-Man 2 and God of War, those are more what you might call cinematic, as a broad overarching grouping. And so those are the sorts of games that I would want to play on the big screen, sitting on the sofa, just relaxing and swinging about like Spider-Man, right? Versus more competitive games like Overwatch and COD, where I would be more inclined to be like, leaning in, looking a bit closer, getting real, aggro. And so for those sorts of games, I would want a monitor, like 32-inch or whatever, that I can be up close and personal with instead. So yeah, I think that the question you're going to need to answer internally is how much of your gameplay, in terms of time, in terms of like emotional investment, are you going to spend on competitive games like Overwatch and COD versus the more cinematic games like Spider-Man 2 and God of War, and how do you weight those sort of classes or categories? The world has been taken over by Palworld this week. Have you attempted it? I have not, especially because I don't have Game Pass. In fact, I don't have any Microsoft stuff installed on my PC, and I have not bought it. So no. I watched a couple of videos and I can see the appeal, but also I'm yet to be dragged into it. Therefore, I'm not as bothered. I'm playing it right now. It's shite, but also very addictive. Fair play. Hello, Mark. How you doing, man? How's things? It's been a while. Also, hello, Jim, before I forget to say hello. Hi. And also, hello, Jeffrey. Just get a 34-inch ultra-wide. If you have a lot of cash, 38-inch OLED ultra-wide, I'm sure it exists, but would be too expensive for me, so didn't look into it. This is for a console, so no. It has to be 16:9. Mark, should I buy 7900 XT Nitro Plus for 750 or the XTX Hellhound for 899? I'm trying to remember what the performance figures differentials are, because I have quite a lot of black and white thinking. It's the autism. So my initial reaction to that question is, well, in for a penny, in for a pound. If you're spending 750, what's 150 more? It's a bad habit to be in, I know. But it obviously it depends an awful lot about how much extra performance you get for that. And off the top of my head, I don't remember. I'm looking it up for you. Inevitably, a video will also play. There you go. Just show me the graphs, damn it. According to Digital Trends, at 4K, you're looking at an average of 69 FPS with the XT and 76 FPS with the XTX. kind of hard. Well, so the XT, how much VRAM does the XT have? Because I don't remember. You gonna show me any of them? No? Okay. 20 gig versus 24 on the XTX. Yeah. So it's not that much better. But also, like, I don't know. I don't know. What does everyone else in the chat think? um, it's so hard to choose. I love games like Spider-Man and God of War, and I want a great experience of those games, but my biggest fear is that I can't compete at my best on a Samsung 55-inch QD OLED on a PS5. So, what I think I want to say is that the experience of playing games like Spider-Man and God of War aren't bad on like a 32-inch OLED monitor or whatever instead. You're still going to have a great time with that. So if it's a genuine concern for you, just get the sort of monitor and know that you're having a great experience regardless, right? I think something to consider is the value proposition of these two sort of devices, right? Like the TV versus monitor, because the TV has, in theory anyway, more use cases outside of just playing games. Because I assume that it would be going in your living room, right? And so if it's going in your living room, that means that you're replacing, I assume, a smaller, lesser, TV already. And so that means that you can extract value out of that on an ongoing basis. Like even if you're not there playing COD or Spider-Man or whatever, that you're gonna have a a great time using that Samsung QD OLED, right? Versus the monitor, which is really only going to be used with your PS5. And so, for me, the question, they're two very separate products. They obviously do the same thing, but they have very different overall use cases and purposes, and also price tags, So yeah. Gabriel, hello. How do I get very strong, fast internet even if I live in a not great internet area? Fiber optic is not available either, not yet. I'd like to get into game streaming. So the unfortunate reality is that there's no free lunches. If you cannot get data in and out of your property fast enough, you can't get your data in and out of your property fast enough. If it's not stable, if it's not just straight not fast enough, you are unfortunately generally pretty limited. In theory, you can do things like get a router that has a 5G or even 4G SIM card and modem built in that can do failover between connections or stuff like that. Hypothetically, you can do there you go, Starlink for that sort of connection, but you will also need to be prepared to pay for those things, potentially on top of your existing service, depending on what's available and where you are and whatnot. So yeah. Apparently Starlink is good. So perhaps if you're, I know that it's on the expensive side. Um, but yeah, recommendations. Uh, uh, Somebody offered to buy my 5950 6900 XT PC unexpectedly. So building a Lian Li O11D RGB Evo 7800 X3D 32 gigs, no 64 gigs of RAM, and trying to pick the graphics card. The XTX is 24 gig and 17% faster. My initial reaction, like I said, is if you're spending as much as you are, £150 is not that big of a difference. um, you know, that's my initial reaction anyway. Um, and if it's 17% faster, well, is it? I can't do maths in my head. Bear with, I'm doing maths on a calculator. It's 20% more expensive. Okay. Um, so it's about even, but it also means 24 gig VRAM. It's more likely to stand the test of time a little bit more, especially at 4K. Jeez. So yeah, it always feels weird to be recommending really expensive stuff, but 4/5G routers are super crap. Tried that. Yeah, I don't think I've ever actually had one. I think I reviewed an Asus one years ago, but I don't think it came with a SIM card or something, and so I had okay internet anyway. Um, but yeah, it's more a backup option more than anything else. So. There we go. Oh, my fridge saga came to an end. By the way, we had another engineer out who, I guess, because it's their policy, just said, "Yep, that's not working. You're getting a new one." Unfortunately, the returns policy for Beko/Grundig is basically, if they make the exact same model, they will just give you that exact same model straight replacement. But because they stop manufacturing each model basically every year, that's physically impossible, and so you have to go to the store that you originally bought the, in my case, fridge freezer from, and then they basically effectively just give you a refund, like in-store refund. So we paid £300 in 2019 for that fridge freezer. Obviously, inflation has ravaged those prices, and so a direct like for like literally the exact same one, but with a new model number, was £479. So £280 more expensive. Basically buying an entire another fridge on top. So we picked basically the exact same fridge, but with a slightly different. It was Beko instead of Grundig. And we only had to pay £70 more to get a working fridge again. Yeah, I was quite upset at that. But yeah, it's here. It arrived yesterday. They took the odd one away, and profit, I guess. Not really. I'm down 70 quid, but yes. Uh, Richard, well, one, I also have ADHD, and two, do you know who Beko is owned by? It's domestic in general. um, Gabriel, yes, Starlink is Musk's SpaceX company. Starlink are doing refurbished equipment now, so it's not as expensive. I thought the plan was expensive, though. I haven't looked in a long time. Yeah, £75 per month. Like, yes, for no, like, hardware, like, you know, no line needing to come into your house or whatever, you know, real cool. But yeah, expensive. And yeah, 75 pounds a month is like 50% more than I pay for gigabit internet. Yeah. It is, but if you have no other options. Yeah. I paid £95 for 6 months, then reduced to 75. But there are no other option in my area. Yeah, fair play. No other options here, just 20 megabit DSL for £30. Yeah, I lived on that for a long time. It's bad. I have 2 broadband connections, one at home and one at my static, and I still pay less than Starlink. Fair. I'm quite happy that my connection is just a static IP, which is handy. You will need a satellite dish, specifically SpaceX's satellite dish. They have you can either rent it for like $10 a month or something, or £10 a month. What was it? Rent it for £10 a month, or buy it outright for £449. Just got the Arctic Liquid Freezer 2 240. Hope it's not a huge pain to fit. It's not. It's pretty simple. It depends what CPU you're using. AMD ones are a bit weird because you've got to turn the brackets inwards for the rectangular shape. But otherwise, one of the nice things about the Arctic Freezer actually is that the fans all get the two included, like I think pre-installed fans actually. Their cables are routed through the like sleeving around the tubes. And then into a hub inside the pump. So you actually only have to have a single connector or header for 2 fans, the pump, and the little fan that's on the pump head itself, which keeps your VRM cools as well. So yeah, it's pretty easy, pretty nice. Just make sure, especially if you're installing on an Intel board, they include a little sticker of standoffs, and a little sticker of like washers. Basically, make sure you stick those on the board because Intel's like mounting system is kind of weird, and it can scratch the board, and then that can cause memory issues if your board isn't designed very well and has all the traces on the top layer. Ask me how I know. You got anything new and exciting coming up, both for TechteamGB and At the Wheel? At the Wheel, no. I am really mostly focused on surviving. At the Wheel is a if and when kind of thing. As for TechteamGB, besides videos, I just finished one that you'll see on Monday. I spent like half the day making an animation to explain what it was I was talking about. So please watch that one on Monday. But otherwise, as I mentioned at the start, I got this little board to test the color sensor that I want to use to make a color, like a monitor color tester. And so, yeah, I've been playing with that. And also, at some point, but actually, I could order those. I have the new version of OSRTT that's like full designed by me, rather than having a microcontroller board. And it's USB-C, and it's all single-sided, and it looks great. There'll be a display there, you know, as usual. Yeah. Still got the Audi? Yeah. I don't plan on getting rid of it anytime soon. I did actually. I just fitted. Well, just after Christmas, so a month ago now. I fitted some 2-drive WH28 wheels and Dunlop winter contact or something or other, winter tires basically. So yeah. It's very slim now. I love seeing the revisions each week. Yeah, I basically the long story short is that so this is so I went from using this chip, which was the reason why I ended up redesigning the board itself as well. This chip is a switch chip that basically lets it turn on and off or short these resistors, which act as the feedback resistor, the gain resistor for the op amp. And this is a digital chip, which makes it really easy to wire because it's just three wires from the microcontroller. But the footprint itself, like the leg spacing, is so tiny that something breaks here, and the boards just break, and then they stop working, and it gets really frustrating. And so I've swapped to analog switch chips, which means I have to wire 8 wires from the microcontroller. Literally, almost every pin on the microcontroller is now being used, but it's much more reliable. Also, the microcontroller boards. Here's one I soldered some wires to for testing stuff. These Adafruit boards basically don't exist anymore. I can't buy them anymore. Which sucks. So I have effectively recreated the stuff that I need from this on this. And I'm actually using the same bootloader as well. So it's the same chip. There and there. But it's wholly my design, so much better. And these come essentially pre-manufactured for me, which means I don't need to breathe in all of the soldering fumes. Although I did actually do some amount of self-care. Get a proper respirator. Full face, because my eyes go as well. And yeah. So there you go. Also did the warranty contact plate replacement, sent for free, easy job and top up. Nice. On the Arctic liquid freezer to 420 or 360, whichever one. Yeah, nice. As always, if I missed anything, feel free to post it again. Just reading up the chat, just in case I did. I don't think so. Wunderbar. if I tried to spoon K28 Type R swap a Toyota MRS, is the HON data completely replacing ECU or just reprogramming? How does that work since it's a Toyota? Jesus Christ, you're gonna need to write that one again. Um, I assume what you've just asked me is if you put a K20A, which is a Honda motor, in a Toyota MRS? Do you mean MR2? Anyway, a Toyota, do you just replace the ECU or what? Because they won't work together. So the short answer is yes, it will not work. The first of all, you need to MR2 Spider, right? Yeah. You need to transplant the wiring harness, and then if you want everything to play nice, well, it just won't. Because the Toyota ECU will not work with the K20. Like maybe if things like the cam and crank sensors work in the same way, it's the same pulses, which that's a stretch. And you know, it's the same sort of injectors and the same sort of spark system. You know, it's not like wasted spark versus individual. You're going to you might be super lucky to find out that with a tune it might work. Odds are it won't though, and then you've got to think about basically a standalone ECU for the engine, and then hope that you can make all the standard in-car stuff work, like your speedo and tachometer and stuff. Yeah, engine swaps are a pain. um, so yeah. Next at the wheel video coming on. Not for a while. I'm sure I'll go to the SMMT day because that's always interesting and fun. So I'll inevitably have a video from that, but that won't be until like May. I would like to do a video of my wheels. You know, like, is it worth buying winter wheels? But yeah, I'm focusing on like managing my various health problems, running the main channel, and making all of these tools, rather than what is a bit more of a hobby, which is the car stuff. Got a nice and tidy little case coming from Sahara tomorrow, the M808W, plus some of their mirror fans, which are modular. Keen to see how alike they are to the Lane Lee design. Nice. You'll have to show us in Discord when you get them. You need to put a translation matrix between both ECUs. Well, yeah. I guess that would work. Either way, pain. Unless somebody's done that exact swap before, it's a pain in the ass. Andy, what would you recommend as an ideally matched GPU for the 5800X3D? Guessing there's a point where the CPU becomes the bottleneck, therefore diminishing returns for higher power GPUs. So a 5800X3D is still an incredibly fast gaming CPU. And so, long story short, really any GPU is probably fine. Obviously, you know, a 7800X3D is a slightly faster CPU for gaming sometimes. But like, you could pair a 5800X3D with a 4090 and you're getting 90, 95%, 99% as much performance as you humanly can get out of that 4090. So really anything. But yeah, like I think if if I were building a system with that CPU, I would go in the 70 to 80 class probably, as that's probably the best sort of a lot of performance and future proofing, but also not spending £1,000 on a graphics card. Am I a petrol head? That's refreshing if you are. Yeah, yeah, I am. I run a car channel at the wheel with a Momo steering wheel that I traced. And yeah, I've driven every supercar under the sun. I drove a Formula 3000 last year, which was good fun, and Le Mans or LM car. And I drive an Audi S4 that at some point I will remap when I can afford the fuel. If you raid 0 NVMe M.2s, will it be faster or a waste of time? So it is faster because you're just writing to two drives simultaneously. It actually it depends on how they're connected. But as a sweeping generalization, yes, it will be faster in synthetic workloads. In things like loading your games, complete waste of time. Like, it's already a waste of time to have a Gen 4, Gen 5 SSD compared to Gen 3 just for, like, loading times. Really doesn't matter. You're saving fractions of a second sometimes. A lot of the time in games that actually still have loading screens, the storage isn't the bottleneck there anyway. So, no big deal. However, for what you call it? Apologies. Yeah, I wouldn't raid 0. I did raid 0 when I was much younger and much dumber, and I lost data every single time. It's not worth it. Admittedly, with SSDs, it would be, in theory, more stable because they're SSDs and they don't just randomly drop out and then break it. But yeah, if it's your primary drive, I wouldn't. Is it okay to have all 4 NVMe's as one drive? It depends how you set it up, but as Richard said, JBOD, so just a bunch of disks, that's fine. But yeah, I wouldn't raid 0 specifically because that's just a great way to lose all your data. Hello, Luca. How you doing? Yeah, I've been running RAID 0 on my servers at home for years, no failures, so the server will tell you before a catastrophe. At work, though, RAID 1 is a minimum. You mad lad, Luca. RAID 10 of 4 drives gives speed and redundancy. Yeah, although it does half your capacity, which I assume is what he's looking to avoid. RAID 5 is probably the best middle ground if you really do want to raid. Or ZFS. I'm just bored and like messing with things. Dude. Fair, yeah. A housemate had RAID 0 as a factory standard on his laptop, worked for like 8 months before dying. Yeah, I asked ASUS why they were doing RAID 0 on fucking ProArt, like creator-focused laptops. And they said, oh, we've not seen many failures yet. I swore the MR2 Spider was only known as MRS in Europe and UK, and only known as MR2 Spider in the USA. What is the MR2 Spider, the second gen or the first gen? Because it's definitely the second. Well, isn't that actually the third gen? Um, I'm pretty sure it is just. I'm pretty sure it's badged as an MR2 in the UK. Is it the second gen though, or third? Third. I'm thinking of the second gen. Yeah, the W20 rather than the W30, was it? Let me keep scrolling. Yeah. It's sold as the MRS in Japan, but the MR2 Spider in America, and then the MR2 Roadster in Europe. There you go. I really want to build a NAS. Currently, all my drives from my PC. They are pretty handy. I definitely like having a NAS, which really is just a PC that's running 24/7. But it's okay. Those ones aren't low power. Well, that one. Don't build a 24-core threader for NAS. I'm sure that's not advice you needed to hear. At some point, I will be sensible and I'll swap it to some, dual socket Xeons and a server chassis. But for now, I'm having fun. Oh dear. I think I'm going to leave it there. That is our usual error anyway. As always, if you want to pop back next week, these are every Thursday night at 8 p.m. UK time. Feel free to come say hello, come chat. And yeah, I hope you have a good week. Make sure to check out the video tomorrow, but also especially the one on Monday. That's the one I spent a lot of effort on today, so that'd be great. And yeah, have fun, stay safe, and I'll see you next week. Bye.